Hello and welcome to Alternative Radio Cardiff. We're back together. Tom is here and Nick is here, and also we're going to interview X Factor extraordinaire Joe Whelan.
Extraordinaire. I wouldn't get that far.
So how are you, Joe? You okay?
I'm good, dude. Thank you.
Good. I shall hand you over to Nicky Pendry. You right?
What's going on? You okay?
The ever famous Tom Davis.
Guys, what's going on?
What's happening, bud?
How's it going, Joey? It's so good to have you on the show today, mate.
That's my best Welsh. That is happening. It's happening, bad.
He's not from Wolverhampton. He's from.
But that's my story when I crossed the border.
He had some woman believing in Brewhouse before that he was from Aberdeen. It was funny.
He was like, "Do you know Maureen?" I was like, "Of course I know Maureen from. She lives down the road there." So
I mean, I'm impressed with that Welsh accent. That's hanging around with Nick. That is. That's an infectious accent you got there, Nick.
It's better than the Wolverhampton one, mate. Trust me.
So what's going on with you, Tom?
Oh, not much, mate. Busy couple of weeks. Hairdressing, prepping, right in the flat. How about you, Nick? How's things with you, bro?
I've been tired. Yeah. Working too much. But anyway, Joey, tell us a little bit about yourself, bud. About you.
Do you want to know?
I don't know.
Everything.
Too much to tell.
Hazel.
The clean version. Do you remember that? What was that? That little.
It was MSN, wasn't it? You know?
There was the one with. They had the little characters who used to walk around. How about was it something like Habbo Land or something like that? I can't remember. It's old school, man. I'm older than you boys anyway.
I tell you what, boys, let me ask a question.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
So, right. So, I know you guys both competed on X Factor together, and then you ended up in a band together. So,
right, no, well, this is the story, right? So, I was doing a tour with. I was supported to Pow the year before X Factor. And it was in my friend's house, Snapeys, and we were all there on a hangover, and I was watching X Factor, and this guy was on. I was like, he's fair play, he's good. And then when he didn't get through, I was like, wow, this is bollocks, no way. So I even liked the campaign on Facebook to get him back on X Factor.
Yeah, it was mad. It was like it was a campaign over 24 hours, like 250,000 people liking a page, trying to get me back on the show, and then didn't work, but it was a nice thought.
You should have had a protest or something, marching through the streets. That's a done thing these days, isn't it?
Protest was me crying when they kicked me out the door. No, don't take me home.
Bring Joey back. Bring Joey back.
So a year later, I had nothing going on, so I thought, I'll go for X Factor, why not? And then all the way through the audition processes, I heard people talking, like, oh, yeah, that Joe Whelan's back. I've heard he's going to go far, blah, blah, blah. And then in boot camp, John Adams introduced me to you, didn't he? Yeah. And then... I
didn't know him before that.
Well, we were all gathered outside Wembley Arena, and then there's this bell end in the middle of everyone doing handstands and roundhouse kicks. And this guy, I was like, what is he doing? He's handstands in front of everybody. And then they all got us together for like the sing-offs, didn't they? Yeah. And I always remember mine was the first name out of all the people who was there. I was the first name called out. Okay, so the first sing-off is Nick Pendry singing against Joseph Whelan. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, why against him?
Colin Malcolm as well, wasn't he? It was like a joke. It was an English guy, Scottish guy, and a Welsh guy all together, man. He was a good dude, though. He was.
So did you hit it off straight away, boys, or was there a bit of like nervous rivalry when you first met each other?
No, we just had a laugh. We just pissed about, didn't we?
It's a good thing. We had similar backgrounds, similar interest in music, similar taste, and he's kind of just got like house on fire straight away. And Colin, he was a good dude as well. But it's funny because we kind of practicing together and just doing our thing, and then we went on stage and we. You have to do it in stages, so you get so many lines yourself, and then someone else, and then so Nick sang, then I sang, then Colin. Do you remember when
he turned around to me and said, "I forgot my lines."
What was the song now? George Michael, wasn't it?
Yeah, I knew you were waiting with the.
That was it. Yeah, but he turns around and looks at us. I forgot my lines, boys. I was like, sorry, I don't know.
I was like, no, I don't know.
No, we got on great though, man. From the start, it was weird because we kind of made friendship over the time we were there, and then you're kind of singing against each other. And
so tell us a little bit more then about the X Factor experience. So you kind of hang around together and I imagine there's a bit of waiting around when you're like waiting to sing and things like that, is it?
There's too much, man. I mean that's what puts you off it, because you're there for hours and hours and hours all day just waiting around. I mean, my first audition, I was there for 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I auditioned at midnight.
Yeah,
literally I was waiting what, 18 hours.
So by the time you come to sing, you're kind of worked up and
You can't
just
be
been waiting
arsed.
around all day. You just want.
Yeah, well, you kind of like you warm yourself up. You get like anticipation to get on and sing, and then you dies off, and then you're waiting around. You can't actually get yourself. By the time you come round to doing it, you're almost exhausted through just sitting there waiting. But see, my first audition, my son came on the stage as well, and
That's the way to get through.
yeah, well, that's probably what carried me.
Well, how many million views that got? It's like 54, isn't it? Something like that. 54 million
ridiculous
views.
like that, yeah. It's-
So did they do one of those little like stories before you came on? Were you one of those people who had?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, but honestly,
No, by the way, we're going to put in a link to your YouTube audition on this post, yeah?
no, I can't watch it myself. No, I kind of become one of them stories, but without like trying to be, because when you're there and you're having your interview and whatever, they kind of ask you loads of questions, and I was talking about all sorts of stuff like being in rock bands and all this good stuff, and then like obviously my son and stuff come into it, but they cut out the bits that they want to use. And they kind of made me look like this doting. Well, I'm not saying I'm a good dad, but like they made me look like this doting single dad figure. And I knew exactly what they were doing at the time, but until I seen it on the screen, I didn't realise what it was going to look like. And then afterwards, I was kind of
You just
makes
had
sense.
all the women.
I was going to say, I bet you had a lot of female attention after that.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, but anyway, like after that then, so we had the sing-off. Joe was the first person who went through, and then it came to Colin, and he didn't get through, and then it came to me. I was the only one left on stage then. And then I always remember Nicole Scherzinger said, if it was up to me, you'd be through, but it's not, it's up to Sharon. And then Sharon was like,
Oh, Sharon.
Osbourne. She stank of dogs, didn't she? She stank.
She did not like me at all, man. I don't know why. So we did that. The year we was on was the first time they did the 6-chair challenge.
Yeah.
We were the first people to do that. I remember sitting down. I got my place. I got. They were saying it's kind of umming and ahhing about putting me through. Then they put me through. I sat down in this chair, and at the end they're talking about swapping someone else, because the last girl who went through, she's had a really good audition. And then they're looking at us, and no one knows what's going on, and they're saying, "Oh, we need to swap someone. Is it going to be Joe? Is it going to be someone else?" And I'm like, what's going on here? And
I got my seat.
I'm looking over at like Louis Walsh. He says, I put Joe through any day of the week. He's got the charisma, he's got the talent, he's got the looks, he's a good boy. Oh, he did, you know. I was right to be straight, man. Yeah. But then Gary always liked me, and then Gary he said no, Joe had a bad performance, I'll send him home, and then I thought it was a vote. I didn't know what was going on. Then Sharon, Nicole, she said no, send Joe home, and I thought I was out. So I've stood up, I've kicked my stool back, and I've gone, this shit. I started swearing, stood up, started protesting, and then and all the researchers are running around in the background going, proper drama.
Chill out, Joe, chill out.
And then Sharon's going, sit down, Joseph, sit down. I was like, no, I've had enough of this. No, you're messing with people's emotions. And I was ready to storm off the stage, and then a researcher, she came over and she went, she goes, no, you're not out. Oh, okay, I'll sit down. Sat down like a good boy. I managed to stay in. I think I only stayed because of my protest. That's the only reason I was still in.
They were too scared to kick you off by the sounds of it, Joe. So where did you end up then? You went to the judges' houses, so tell us a little bit about that.
Went to Sharon Osbourne's house, and funny enough...
You saw Ozzy, didn't you?
Yeah, well, usually it's their...
Do you have a little sesh with Ozzy then?
You know what? We had to sign an NDA to say we wouldn't say or take any pictures of Ozzy. But I seen him walking. He come out the house the one day. He'd had a shower and he had the 2 dogs in his hand, and his hair was all wet. And he walked past. I was like, Ozzy. He goes, where are you from? I goes, same shit. Oh, you're from. Yeah, but no, it was that was her actual house, whereas all the others are kind of rented fake apartments or fake houses or whatever.
So did you build up much of a rapport with Sharon while she was staying there? Like, did you spend a lot of time with herself?
Quite the opposite, to be honest. I mean, me and Sharon, we I don't think she didn't take to me at all. She's kind of got a thing about. I think she's got a thing about men, maybe. I don't know, but she had the girls and they had a bit of a clique, and I was kind of...
No way, so they left you out?
I was definitely left out, and at one point we were kind of giving advice and whatever else, and she kind of...
Because that could have been quite detrimental to your progression in the show if you weren't getting on with your coach.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I knew from when I got there.
I see we start the protesting.
Yeah, 8 years later. No, I knew I weren't going through, and to be fair, Robbie Williams was the guest judge at a house, and he took me aside because he's from Stoke, not far from me. And we got on like a house on fire, and he even protested with her because he wanted me to go through, and they argued. He even said it on telly that they argued over me not going through. But I went to his house. And we played football at his house and all sorts. So I really gotten great with him. But he said afterwards, because she just doesn't like him, mate. It's not happening. So
Of course, the stir there, mate. Fair play.
oh, that's why. At least I caused something.
So anyway, so he didn't get through, and then that's when I had a phone call off him then.
Oh, was he came crawling back then, is it?
I think he felt sorry for me, didn't you?
Nicky, I've got some songs.
Nick had just finished off his last box of Kleenex after he got kicked off the show, and then the phone call came from Joey to save him and get him in the band.
To be fair though,
Sorry for me.
no, to be honest though, I mean, obviously, me and Nick, we were getting on like an house on fire at the time, but we had a similar style and a similar appreciation for the same music, and I made the call and we said, oh, let's get together, have a jam. Played a few songs. I sent him some songs that I'd done. We sent some back and forth, and that was it. Then we started playing gigs together straight away. And
So how does that work, boys? Because obviously there's quite like a lot of distance between you and where you live and things like that. So how do you kind of work out like the rehearsals and things like that?
Well, it hasn't been doing that much.
tell the truth, I always come down to Cardiff. You never come to Wolverhampton.
Well, when it was Jake and Alex in the band, I was always coming up. Remember?
So yeah, it was a lot of driving around. But to be honest, though, I think with musicians, when you got the drive for it, and you got the ambition, you actually you'll do anything just to succeed. Because we was writing the EP at the time, we was like proper buzzing for it. Some really good songs, recording everything. We was traveling all over the place to get things done, and then things kind of tailed off a little bit afterwards through various reasons. But at the time, it was just you'll do whatever you can do to get the music over the line. But me and him were travelling, but we were the only ones with the real drive in the group. So
Well, this is why we're still friends, no? Because we didn't talk to you.
So did you play a lot of gigs in Cardiff then?
No, we've done Bureaus a couple of times, but we did the EP. We released. Well, we didn't really release it, did we?
you know what? I'll be honest with you. It's something that all musicians can relate to. Is that you get trapped in this bubble of doing. You have your original music, which is what you want to push, but then you always do your cover gigs, which kind of get you your money in. You do gigs, you earn a few quid here and there. People know the songs, so you get to play in pubs and clubs everywhere. And then that kind of pigeonholes you into that, because you don't want to give up your money on a Saturday night, Friday night, whatever, doing your gigs. But then you end up, before you know it, you're doing that many of them. You've got no time for everything else, so you can't sacrifice your gigs because that's your income. And then you don't put the time into your original music, so it kind of takes you away from having that drive and determination to do the original stuff that we set out to do. But even now, we're making plans to get those tracks up and get them going. But it's taken so long to actually get focused, and lockdown with everything that's happened has probably been a good thing, because we haven't been able to gig. So it just gives us that time to sit back and think we need to get something.
Okay, your priorities
Well, we
straight.
should have done something more through lockdown, really.
Probably been lazy. We talked about.
Oh, well, you're doing something now, boys.
We've talked about it.
Yeah. Right, well, let's play one of the tracks, is it?
Yeah, go on, boys. Which track are you going to play first?
What do you want to do first?
Bad Intentions. That's the one. That's the one.
Because that's already on the playlist, but let's bang it up now.
It's a tune, that is. Come on. Bad Intentions.
So this is me and Joe, The Contrast, Bad Intentions. Boom!
Alternative Radio Cardiff, ARC FM.
Got this thing where I sometimes lose control. Don't know what it is, but I know I'm living on the dark side. No pride, no self-control. I live for what I know. They don't understand. I throw up your hands, get hot, let everyone know. We've all got those bad, bad, bad intentions. 'Cause we live for those good, good, good vibrations. We don't care about your expectations. We live for the high. Stand up, sign up, ride. This life is for the free. Don't wanna stand in line and waste my time with your hypocrisy. You wanna look down on me. I'm what you wanna be. This is all I know, sex, rock and roll. I guess you're too blind to see. We've all got those bad, bad, bad intentions. 'Cause we live for those good, good, good vibrations. We don't care about your expectations. We live for the high.
So that was Bad Intentions. Boys, that is an absolute tune. Fair play.
Thank you.
What a banger.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch.
I reckon though, you put that song anywhere and it'll do well. You know, that's just not blowing my own horn or anything, or trumpet, but it's class.
So tell us about like the writing of the song. So did you work on it together or?
Well, no, Joe had this really cheesy sample, for that. It was like.
Yeah, he had all the he had some like garage style beat behind it or something, man. But
so the chorus was there, and we worked on the verses together, didn't we?
Yeah, it's always had that. I mean, the bass line was always that bad intentions. That was always just that hook. But then we kind of built off that. But all the writing was a collective effort. We'd kind of come up with an original idea, and we sit down and we just hash it out between us and just put other bits in and whatever else. But even in the studio, to be fair, even when we're there doing it, we kind of put little bits in and change things. And that's the fun part of music, is the writing, because you obviously, when you're playing cover songs, you're just playing someone else's song that someone's written, and when you're doing your own things, you're creating something from nothing. And when you come up with the product afterwards, when it's properly produced, it's awesome to look back at it. When I listen to that now, it's kind of it's a proud moment, because you listen to that song and it sounds so good. And then
so when you're writing a song together, boys, do you ever like clash heads about anything, or is it like, you kind of like make it like, is it kind of awkward sometimes when you have to maybe say, maybe change this and that?
No, because I think we're pretty much on the same wavelength.
I think that's what helps.
So there's been no arguments. We never fucking argue.
I've been in bands before though, where it's been like that, where everyone's kind of, they've got their ideas, and that, I think when you're younger, you kind of want to be the man to write the songs or whatever, and you kind of, some people compete with each other, whereas I think with me and Nick, we've always had that thing where we're just on the same wavelength after the same goal. There's no competition there. It's just, we both know that once you've got something good, it doesn't matter who's wrote it or where it's come from. If it's good, it's good. Just push it. So
you made that bromance on X Factor, and the love's just blossomed ever since. It sounds like, boys.
Well, it's been 7 years, and we still talk every day, really, don't we? We just call up. He's probably one of the only people that can just call up shit. Call up, not want anything, and just chat shit for an hour.
Yeah,
it's literally that. Because when you call out the friends and stuff, there was
so what type of things you talk about with each other?
You don't want to know.
Oh no, I do, Joey.
And 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls.
No, but normally when you call someone, it's to have an ulterior motive in it, can you do this for me? But it's not, is it? It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, literally talk absolute shit. Are they bad? And the accents.
Or drive into work, and it's like Joe's FaceTime with me, so I put him on the dashboard.
No, I don't do that. No, that's completely illegal.
So do you ever get worried about each other if you have a day where you don't phone each other or something? Oh, what's happened to Nick?
He's worried about me in the past, didn't you? Joey, are you okay? Please tell me you're okay.
Come in, Joey. So, Joey, tell us a little bit more about yourself then. So what were you doing before, the X Factor and before the Contrast?
I've been playing in bands and stuff since I was like 15, 16. I started playing guitar quite late, 15 years old, but then I picked it up quite good, quick, and then I started with a Metallica tribute band, jumped in at yeah, man. You know what though? That was good. That was good fun, because it literally went from doing no gigs at all to, we were touring all around Europe. It's like Europe's biggest Metallica tribute, smashing it and doing gigs 4 times a week, and I was still at school at the time as well, so I'd come to school, I was like the little rock star in school, man.
Did you get time off school to go and tour around Europe?
I didn't need it really. I can't, cause we always travel back the same night, but I'd come from school, get picked up by the lads, stuck all the amps and stuff in the van, get dropped off in the morning, sometimes go right through and go to school the next day after having no sleep, but it was, and then
hardcore, mate. Yeah. Even at that age,
I was baptised early.
Because you even done a tour in America, haven't you, with the band?
Yeah, I mean that was.
What was it like touring 15 though? Like being in that environment.
It's weird because you want to. I always look young for my age, so you wanted to kind of be accepted as an older guy. Obviously, you got women and stuff in the crowd or whatever else. You're trying to pull them or whatever. But yeah, it was, to be honest, it was just an eye opener, because those gigs, even though it's a tribute band, they used to get rammed, because obviously people never got to see Metallica, and Metallica turn up and everyone's just there and they're kind of worshipping you as a guitar god, because I was playing I was only playing guitar then, I didn't sing or anything, and it was just more the experience of being out in front of people. And from there I joined a couple of other bands, did my own thing, and just progressed throughout the years. But one band I always kind of played with was Cloven Hoof. They were a 80s metal band, big, well established in Europe, and like Nick said, last year 2018, toured America with them. It's probably the best thing I ever did. I toured we did 40 states across the United States, and he
Living the dream.
yeah, that was living the dream. Literally, I mean, not entirely, because we kind of living out the back.
Van it was.
Yeah, living out the back of a clapped out minibus load, but it was good, man. I got to see a lot of stuff. So music's took me a lot of places, and I'm thankful for that. Even though I've never quote unquote made it, I've kind of done more things than I would have done if I never.
No, but like, you know, after X Factor, you had like loads of bloody media attention. And
Yeah,
like, you know, you're on the, you know, Lorraine Kelly, you know, this, you know.
Mate, that you know what, I didn't even know how to do
That's
that.
the story about that. That's funny.
I got asked to do Lorraine Kelly, come out of nowhere. I was like, yes, sweet, I'll get there. And I'll get to the green room. I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, what am I doing here? And then James McAvoy walks in. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go over to him and start, hey, can I have a picture? And so he's sat and he's playing. He's weird. He's kind of sat there playing with some cards or something. I was watching him. I'm a bit of a people watcher as well. And then, but then Frank Bruno walks in, and I'm like a big boxing fan. So I was thinking, no, don't do that. Sorry. Well, no, Frank. I was just grabbing his hand, shaking his hand. Can I have a picture? And he's kind of like, whoa. I took proper back. And then afterwards, when I watched the show back, it turns out Frank was actually he was on there because he gets proper anxiety when people approach him for like, and it's exactly what I did. I ran straight up to him, Frank.
Yeah. They should have given you a briefing before the show. They should have been like, right, guys, Frank's coming in a minute. Don't fucking speak to him. He don't like it.
Well, I'm supposed to be some sort of Z-list celebrity. I think that's kind of probably an unwritten rule that people know about. But no, I've never.
You know, you got a 6'2" Brummie coming towards you. Like, oh my god.
I bet James McAvoy was quite offended as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was running straight past. No, to be fair, I mean, it's just weird sitting in a room with someone like that. It's happened a few times when I've been around people of like stature, and you think like, that's just mad that you can see that person in real life, and they've always got like an aura around them. The worst one was we did Sweden Rock Festival before, me and the band, and we had the tickets for the like the buffet where the band go to obviously get your food and whatever, and we played early in the day on the main stage, and then sat there, and then Black Stone Cherry sat there eating, Rob Zombie, and then one of my favourite bands, Alter Bridge.
Oh yeah, you love Miles Kane, you know.
So the worst is, right, so after the gig we asked them for some beers and stuff, and they brought these just normal lager beers from Sweden, whatever, and then one of the guys says, where's the real stuff? And they bring us this vodka. It's like in the shape of a skull. It's like real seriously strong stuff, and we're knocking it back, and then next thing you know, I'm seeing double, and then I'm there, and I'm looking over, I'm going, oh, there's Blackstone Cherry, there's Alice Cooper, and the waiter, he goes, dude, calm down, you're supposed to be one of these guys. I was like, yeah, and then Miles Kennedy walked in, who is my idol, and I've same thing as Frank, made a beeline for him. I was like, Miles, you're the best singer in the world, I love you, you're everything. Oh man, and he just like kind of, you know, the people put the head back like, oh, what's this going on? But then afterwards, when they played their set, we got to the front, and Mark Tremonti, the guitarist, he kind of pointed at me when he was singing one of the songs and gave me a nod. I was like, yeah, that's enough for me. They know who I am. Yeah, so I've done some fanboy moments. I'm not proud of it, but you can't change it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No regrets, man. No regrets. At least I got there.
So guys, we're going to have some more music from the podcast.
Well, this next one, it's Born for Better Days. I don't think many people have heard this one, have they? Because when Joe asked me to be in the band, he sent through some songs, and this is the one I listened to, and I thought, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, it's because, I mean, to be honest, this one, it's kind of a different, I mean, compared to Bad Intentions, it's a completely different theme, but it's, I think that's the reason we call the band The Contrast as well. There's that many different styles of music within what we do, but everything that we do is written from what we like and from the heart, whereas I think a lot of bands, they try and conform to a certain sound. So our thing is just, if we like it, we write it, we do it, that's it. And this is a good song.
Born for Better Days.
Alternative Radio Cardiff, ARC FM.
Close your eyes when you're in doubt. Take my hand and we'll ride out. See your light will shine much brighter in the dark. When you're trying to rise on a foolish dream, driven by everything you've seen, you realize at times that life is hard. But when you feel the fire of where you're from, greed and desire can overcome. Take a good hard look around. You see these trying times teach us well. Sin might drag us straight to hell, but my boy, you stand your ground. For this is your hometown, so don't you let it drag you down. And when we fall, let the fire you burn for the lessons you've learned.
Hello, and I'm back. So I'm with Tom again. We've finally been reunited. He's been.
It's good to have you back, mate.
I know. It's
I
good
missed
to
you.
have here. Yeah, I know. It's weird. And Joe is still here, lingering.
I missed you too.
So Joe, you are a superstar, X Factor extraordinaire. What's the plans for the future then? What are you going to do?
Well, me and Nick are kind of working on obviously those tunes that we played earlier. We're kind of going to get the band together, start getting some music videos together, start working on those songs that we did. We've had them for a while now, but they're good songs, so we're creating new ones and always writing. So I've kind of been sidetracked a bit over the last few years doing different things, and I just want to get my head back into music, get some songs together and get out there really, because for me, that's when I get involved with music, when I get something original project, it actually really consumes me, and it's something I get a proper drive for. Whereas there's not many things in life that do that for me, and to work, and me and Nick are on the same wavelength with that. So I think if we just get into it, but we've been saying this for a long time. We keep saying, "Oh, let's get into it. Let's get."
And what do you think is stopping you from like seizing, the opportunities, or what do you think is that like stepping stone you need to sort of get over, maybe?
I think to be honest, everyday life. In fact, there's one of our songs, you played it before, Hollywood. That's about that. Is that life gets in the way. If you've got these dreams and ambitions, you're a good. I mean, Nick, he's a great singer, great writer.
Awesome.
He probably says the same about me, but you got these. Your life gets in the way. I've got 2 kids. I've got a mortgage. I've got to provide for them. I've got my job. Obviously, put that first. But then
You're like a real proper adult. Right?
yeah, well, try to be sometimes. But yeah, you have obviously the life commitments that stop you from being able to just chuck everything away and say, you know what, sorry, I'm going to go to London, go to America, take a chance on it and see what happens. I can never be in a position to do that. So kind of I've got to put stuff out there in the hope that success comes to me. But for me, success really, if I put my music out there and people hear it and like it, that's enough. It's not about the fame, money.
Yeah, you don't need to sell out, so to speak. But talk to me about music labels as well, because I'm quite interested about how all this works. So you're a band, you can kick out some good tunes, and then some big company comes along, and then what happens?
I'd like to say I've got the experience in knowing, but I've got some experience with labels, but not with the majors. But my experience hasn't been great.
But what do they do exactly? Like, what's the inner workings of them?
It's different these days to as I understand it, what it used to be. A record label would sign an artist up, and they'd put you get publishing deals and record deals. On a record deal, they'd put all the promotional money into you, and they'd pay for all your recording. Pay for the biggest part of getting established is getting your music heard, which is you can have the best song in the world if no one knows you. No one's going to.
So they're basically good platforms, or they're connected with good platforms.
Advertisement and things
That's
like
it.
that.
You get pluggers, and pluggers are paid a lot of money. So to get your song onto Radio 1 costs you money in the first instance if you're trying to get an artist broken.
So I suppose like it must be kind of hard working with an agent sometimes, because I suppose they want things from you which, like, do you know what I mean? They want to like meet in the middle on some things, and you're not kind of prepared to do that. Do you have to kind of think about that?
Do they try and commercialise you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not even so much meet in the middle. Sometimes you'll find, and I had this myself. I had my first. I'm not going to mention any names because I had some sour deals with some people, but I got signed by a record label. Done my first single straight after X Factor, did really well. I got to #1 in the rock charts, in the actual Billboard rock chart.
What was that song?
It's called I Lie Lonely. It was a track.
That was a solo
performance, yeah, and released that. It was off the back of X Factor, so obviously I had a bit of the wave of fame from that or whatever. Yeah, so but I got to #1 in the rock charts, #41 in the main Billboard charts, and I didn't get a penny. I got completely ripped off.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then I got signed up by a manager afterwards. I won't mention his name, but we didn't really get on afterwards. But he kind of steered me into doing music that I would never have done. All my tracks, he was like, "Oh, can you write something a bit more like this?"
Was it like did you get a sense of a deliberate like manipulation and just an overall shafting?
100%.
So you were
yeah.
just
Shafting is the right word, to be honest. Because for me, if I listen to a writer's music, I can hear when someone writes something that's genuine to them, and I can hear when someone writes something that I've done it myself. You aim for a certain sound. If someone said to me, "Write a song like so and so," I could probably do it. It might be a bit of a rip-off, but you can sense when someone's written to sound like a certain way. Now, with the music that me and Nick are doing at the moment, it's original from our heart. That's what we want to write, and that's what we want it to sound like. And it's basically people out there to take it or leave it. If you like it, great. If not, we don't care. And that's the best.
And there's supposed to be that original music as well, and that creativity which you're trying to like harness and drive you forward anyway. Because I guess, we've heard from other artists that singing covers and things like that is just not really hitting the button for people out there on the left side, like, just going out and...
For me as well, it's I find it really frustrating with it's like X Factor especially. I'm kind of sounding hypocritical because I've been on that show, but when you see people, I made that song my own, I'm like, No, because whoever that, you can't make that song your own. That is the person who wrote that song, felt them emotions. Yeah, it can mean something to you, but when you write your own song and you write it from the heart, you do it exactly as you want it. That is a piece of you that you're putting out there, and it literally, it sounds deep and cliche. You're putting a piece of yourself onto a track. Some of our songs that I've written on this EP that we're going to be putting out, they were written quite a while ago, and I've gone through some stuff in my life since then. I've actually listened to my own records, and I relate to them now more than I did then. I'm like, well, that's making sense to myself, and it's weird.
So you predicted your own future?
Kind of, yeah, but it's strange. I had some ups and downs, some pretty dark times over the last couple of years, and I won't get into it, but I've felt like crap sometimes, and I've listened to my own tracks and thinking, did I know this was good? It's weird. I get a bit weird about the universe and all that kind of...
Mate, it's funny, all these things happen for a reason, mate. It's all interconnected.
I get that kind of, in my head, the whole universe is great, all laid out for. I'm all into that kind of stuff, but it's like... I knew what was coming kind of thing, but I listen to my own music and it's weird to relate to it, but
so like you were kind of warning yourself?
Yeah, but it spells out the fact that you're actually putting out your own feelings onto a track, and when someone just tries to take, I don't know, I've done covers myself and I like to sing covers, but that's more about out of respect for the track.
What would you say then, like listening to your own lyrics back, what like rings most true to you now? If there's a lyric or, you know, something like that kind of comes back and reminds you of something that's going on now, what would that be?
One of our songs, Faces, which is on the EP that we've done, that's a big song for me, because that's a song that's about, it's a few different meanings in it, but it's about kind of putting on a face and hiding yourself and not being the person that you are. I would quote a lyric, but I can't actually remember one right now. But it's about kind of putting on a front and not being the person that you are. But that's one in particular that I listened to that kind of 6 months ago when I was kind of having a bit of a dark time, and I listened to that track and I was like, that's real, man. That's what, and there's so many other people. It's, you try and fit in, you try and put on a front, or you just don't like yourself sometimes. Some people out there, they put so much. I'm one of them people that puts confidence on. I will walk into a room and I will take over conversation, be the joke and whatever, but then go back in my own and think like, I'm not really that happy with myself. That's a bit bad. I'm not like
sort of like extrovert, introvert. Type.
Yeah, kind of. But you find that people who are those kind of core characters who take over conversations, the extroverts, they are the introverts when they get back home, and a lot of people are like that.
I think through a lot of the performing artists, I mean, it goes right through comedians to singers to actors. They're all on the line of emotion, aren't they? In terms of like, so they're quite, they're quite deep characters in general.
They're walking the line. They're living off adrenaline half the time, aren't you? So you're walking, you're doing your thing on stage, you're banging those songs out, and then I suppose you're going home, and it's just a massive anticlimax for you at some point.
Bravado, I think.
What about negative comments? Have you had any people coming in saying, "Oh, you're shit, you're this, you're that"? Well, I mean, I can't imagine it, obviously.
And not being like big-headed or anything, no. And it's good because here's one thing that happens, and everyone who's ever like kind of put any music out there will say the same. You only concentrate on the negativity. So any of my some of my videos on YouTube got quite a lot of views, and I'll read through the comments. My dad's like, he's a big advocate for me, and he will ring me and say, "Have you seen all the people commenting on your song?" And I'm like, I don't pay attention to the comments that are
You've got to be a little bit blinkered.
Do you find it's probably better not to look sometimes?
It is, because then if I see a negative, if I could have 99 good comments and then one negative, and that negative will just play on my mind, and I'll start to listen to that person, even though I know it's probably complete crap, someone who's being nasty for the sake of it, but you do home in on the negativity, and that's just people do.
I think a lot of people, like, they think they've got the right to judge, haven't they? And when they're just sitting on their ass doing nothing themselves, kind of thing.
An absolute entitlement to keyboard warriors. Yeah,
an entitlement. They feel like they kind of own a piece of you sometimes. But for me, music, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that it's a really fickle business, and I've been put off the idea of trying to be, make it and be the big sellout artist or whatever, famous. For me, it's just about the music. I've always said, if I get to the point where I get on stage and I'm doing a gig and I don't enjoy it, that's the day I'll hang it up and just say, you know what, forget it.
And I imagine, like, having, like, so much music out there, do you sometimes, like, I mean, listening back to your own music, I bet you get like some kind of like sense of nostalgia, and when you're kind of listening to things, does it kind of take you right back into the place you were at that time?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's exactly what it is. If you wrote a song at a certain time, you listen to that song, it will automatically take you back to where your mind was at the time you wrote that, and the point of your life, where you were living, who you were with, what was going on in your life, where you were working. You go back to that time, and it's a really quick relationship, although, like I said earlier,
can that be hard sometimes?
It can. It depends what you've written it about. But I think personally, for me, it's quite nice, because it kind of reminds you of the different stages you were at with your career, with your life, and what you were doing, and it kind of makes you reflect and think, you know what, I did good. that was a good time, that was a bad time, I've come through it. It depends how you take it as a person, you know. But music can be deep, and I think people try and make it too deep sometimes. Like I said, when people kind of say, "Oh, this is my song," or whatever, you're like, "Well, no, it's not. You might relate to it, but you didn't write that song, so shut up and sit down." Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, if people lack substance sometimes, I think, and that's not me being bitter to anyone, but you get a lot of people who kind of really, I don't know, musically brilliant, good vocalists, can sing like Mariah Carey or Whitney, whatever, but they've got no substance to them. But you get someone who can't actually sing,
like a Bob Dylan.
I was going to say Bob Dylan is a perfect example. Some of the best songs ever written. Bloke couldn't sing a note, but
you just feel Bob Dylan in his music when you listen to it.
Well, obviously people did, but
it's poetry, isn't it?
People wrote better songs than him, and he was absolute genius. The Kinks, you know, some of these bands that have come through and written some of the best music in history, the best words in history. Not exactly the best performers, but absolutely.
But it's a mad one though, like, because sometimes you can listen to artists like Elvis Presley and Elton John, and they never wrote like any music for themselves. But it kind of
I think Elton John wrote his music. I think
he didn't. He had a writer.
Well, I don't know about that. I think
he did.
Yeah, I think like Elton's well known for being a writer, isn't he? No. Are you with me on that, Joe?
No, yeah, he had a writer.
He probably had co-writers, I imagine, but Elvis, I know, didn't.
Well, there's somebody to leave in the comments then, okay?
Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. I mean, Elvis, probably the biggest, you know, artist of all time, one of, and he's obviously other people wrote his songs, but again, he's a complete icon, and people.
A lot of like the brains behind bands come from the bassists, don't they? Or like the sideman. So you get like Nicky Sixx from Motley Crue, and then you get sort of Noel Gallagher of Oasis. God, my mind's just gone blank all of a sudden.
but genius in their own right, aren't they? And with, I mean, to be fair, Elvis as well. I'm kind of going back on what I said now, but he sang.
He could own it.
He made a career of singing songs that other people have written, but he completely sold you that song when he. It was a time changer when, because obviously at the time it was a complete shift in music. Obviously what he was doing on stage. I mean, I'm an Elvis fan, so I'm a big fan of historical music. I really think that music over the last 10, 20 years has lost its way. Every track that's out there now has come from a base of all the stuff that we kind of look now as being, oh, that's dated. You could never put an Elvis track out now. You could never put the Eagles out now.
Oh, I don't know. The Eagles are
brilliant, but if you put them in the charts alongside what's going on, the masses wouldn't buy it, and it's a shame because that is.
But there is the argument that MTV came in, didn't it, in the 90s and started killing and killing the old school rock and roll. So like the old, the ones that are going out and getting absolutely smashed and like going on stage and all those sort of like tour bus incidents sort of died down into that commercialism.
It's all they're all so manufactured now, aren't they? Like I suppose they're given an image, they're told how to look, how to sing, and they kind of got to sell their souls a little bit to rise to that level and get to number one in the charts.
Artists are more like IT technicians now than they are actual singers.
That's very true. I mean,
it's all about branding, isn't it?
It was always like with the software that you were. I mean, I use software myself that I got used to using when I produce music. But you get to that place where you're so quick at like copy and pasting and whatever else and transferring stuff over. Whereas you think back in the days when they were recording stuff, it was like you take it once, bang, straight the way through, and that's how they do it. It's like,
that's why I think the real talent was sort of like held as well, because when you couldn't rely on technology, you had to generally like go on mustard alone and just actual soul alone. And that's why I think like it's very, very rare when you get like an amazing singer like come out of the woodwork nowadays. I don't know anyone off the top of my head. So I think like Harry Styles is really, really good.
He's brilliant. I mean, but you look at what he was doing previously. One Direction conquered the world, but then no one would give him any respect for what he was doing in there. But then everyone's giving more respect afterwards because he's kind of got some substance to his music. But it's a good point what you make about it, like this day and age. It's kind of almost. It's a deep thing to say, but we become conditioned to what you hear. It's
institutionalised, isn't
even
it?
like I was talking to Nick about this the other day. Is that like most there's plenty of videos online of people doing four chord jams, and they're putting all the big hits over the years to the same chord structures.
Oh yeah, there was that band.
So there's like a format for it, isn't
that's
it?
Because our ears have become used to hearing the hits through them chord structures, and that sounds good to us. Whereas something a bit more left wing, you wouldn't relate to as easy because you become conditioned. But these bands that are out now, there's a certain sound that's become the norm.
It's like catchy rather than good.
Yeah, and if you conform to the sound that's out now, you will instantly kind of be taken in by the masses because that's what people love right now. But if you're a bit different and a bit left wing, it's harder to make your breakthrough.
Well, let's talk about this song now then, because we've got another one to play for you. What is it?
We've got Still Got the Feeling.
Oh, so actually, this is I've heard this one quite a few times. I get the luxury of hearing all these before.
Nick, yeah, this is one of Nick's core tunes.
Did Nick write this one?
Nick wrote this one. We worked on it together, but this was originally one of Nick's. Yeah.
I always say Nick is like a living Disney character.
I can see what you're saying.
Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see
He's just got like
exactly
an
what you're
absolute
saying,
smile on him. I can imagine he'd make a great cartoon.
You know,
He's like a nice version of Gaston or something like that.
Well, he's just like boy band Prince. Like.
Yeah.
He's a good lad. I think with Nick, I mean, obviously I've known him for years, and he's fair share of ups and downs in the internet with all sorts of stuff. But he's one of them guys. He always stays positive. I can ring him anytime and just be, if I need a Gene up, or feeling a bit better, give him a call. Makes me feel better straight away. It's just, but for music, same thing as me. He's got a proper passion for it. So like a song like this is again I know what this song is about. And I won't go into his part to stay, but he puts his feelings into the track, writes it, and it comes out as a good product because it's real, and that's why it's a good song.
Okay, well, without further ado,
Hey, you stole my line there. Let's listen to it.
was it Can't Stop the Feeling?
Yeah.
Alternative Radio Cardiff, ARC FM.
She's got high hopes and faith in me, and I try. Oh, I try. She says I'm too young at heart. I gotta settle down, move on with life, but I can't see why. 'Cause I'm not getting no younger, and still got the feeling. She's not believing. There's hearts in overdrive. I got a lust for her and a love for life. Yeah, I know. I'm pulling her along for the ride, and I know it's wrong, but a strong desire's gonna show. All the things that I told her, and I'm getting no younger, and time's getting older, and I still got the feeling, but she stopped believing, singing I still got that feeling. I'll never stop believing, baby, and I still got that feeling. She stopped believing. Still got the feeling. She stopped believing. I still got the feeling, but she stopped believing tonight.
Oh, right, okay, so actually off mic we were chatting about your fame, Joe, because you are a bit of a bit of a star, aren't you? You've been on TV, you've had...
Well, you're a man of many talents as well, because I know you were a professional MMA fighter for a little while as well, weren't you?
Yeah, well, it's kind of
to
been
fight off the fans.
no, never been a need.
What made you? How did you decide, like, between the MMA and the music?
Well, that's kind of been a bit of a sticking point for me, really, because I'm really impulsive in the fact that.
But please tell me that you designed and you sung your own entrance music.
No, that would be.
I've got these bad intentions.
That would be like the ultimate ego when you're walking down fighting with my own track behind me. Yeah, no, that's never happened. But it's kind of always been a bit of bit of a situation for me is that I'm quite impulsive in the fact that if I have something, I've got two loves in for my own kind of personal hobbies, and one's martial arts and fighting, and one's doing music, and one always takes away from the other. So if I'm balls deep in music, I won't train my fighting or stuff. You know, I went 5 years without doing a fight, and before that I was always quite regular.
I suppose you can either be an average fighter and an average musician, or a really good fighter and a really good musician. You can't kind of have both at the same time.
It's kind of what Jack of all trades, master of none is a saying in it. But for me, I mean, fighting wise, I've done it for quite a while, and I've kind of built up a good standard. But there's people out there who do it day in, day out. I know a lot of guys from around by me up the Midlands who've got some really good fighters, but they're absolute killers, you know, killers. And because they do it, live, eat and breathe it, you know, whereas me, everyone's always said about me on our gyms where we train, I'm a talented lad. They call me jobber, so I'll just turn up at the gym. I've got quite talent. If I get a bit of fitness, I can hold my own, but I'm not on their level of kind of, they've got that killer instinct, that's all they do.
You're still like a nice guy underneath, like.
Yeah, I probably ain't got that.
Haven't got 100-yard stare.
I can't turn the nasty thing on. I'm not that person. But I've got with MMA. I don't think it is that. You don't need that. It's a very calculated sport where you've got, you know, jiu-jitsu and all these different sports that are very intelligent. But it's not about being mean. But it's mainly about putting the work in. Some of the guys, there's a team up in Birmingham. You got Renegade and some of the best fighters in the UK from around by us. You got Jai Herbert, Tim Wilde, Leon Edwards, who's actually on the UFC. He's like big time, and they all train day in, day out, morning, afternoon, night, and they are killers. Now, I never put that commitment into it, so I can never claim to be anywhere near on that level.
Still did pretty well, mate.
Yeah, I've done well. I've had some good fights, and then I think like I've got a bit of a name through doing it. But whereas music, I've definitely put more road miles into solid music career.
Was that something you like when you were doing Lorraine and you know all the X Factor stuff? Was that something like people talked about with the music as well? So you never kind of got the recognition for both at the same time. Like?
There was one at one point. There was a bit of a. I was at an interview with one magazine. I can't remember who the magazine was, but they copped onto it from somewhere, and they Alex Reid at the time, he'd just done the Big Brother thing and that, and they kind of set up a little thing there. They were saying, would you fight?
He won Big Brother, didn't he?
I think he did.
Yeah.
It was like, would you fight Alex Reid? I was like, yeah. I thought, why not?
Fighting for Katie Price.
If I can set that up and get a bit of money out of it, then why
Got
not?
some big, long, gangly legs. Do you remember his kicking? Like he's like quite a big guy, and all of a sudden his leg would just like throw up out of his head. I remember him.
You know, I mean, that's another one. He look, because he did the
Cross-dresser.
Well, all that came out, and obviously being Jordan's chap, the Big Brother stuff and the cross-dressing thing, and he kind of got a lot of flack. But I remember him back in the Cage Rage days, and he was one of the originals of the cage fighting for the UK, and then MMA for the UK, and then he got a lot of flack, and then he had a big fight with Tom Kong Watson, who's actually a legit middleweight champion, and after all that fame and all the kind of flack that Alex Reid got, he had a proper fight for the title. Didn't beat him, but he held his own. He kind of proved a point that I think people look at you as if to say, you know, oh, he's just a celeb or whatever. People will instantly kind of.
I think the thing was with Alex Reid, he always came across as like a really nice, soft, gentle guy as well. So I think a lot of people kind of disassociated him from being like a fighter and a celebrity,
especially the MMA community, because it's really thick. All the same with music. I find certain music kind of genres have got a cult, and you're not allowed in or whatever. But
any examples of those?
Rock music.
I was going to say, like, I think the rock music and live music is one of them as such. Yeah.
For me, what really gets my gripe is so rock and metal. They're always kind of fans. I'm on myself, a big rock fan since I was a kid, but they almost have a bit of a victimisation thing, especially like emos and whatever.
Troubled souls, like outcast type culture.
World hate us, you know, we kind of outcasts or whatever, but also they are the one genre of music that put themselves outcasts. Like rock music, if you haven't got long hair and you don't wear the clothes, I know, the denim leathers, whatever, you're not in with that crowd. I remember we were doing a gig in me and the band with Cloven Hoof, we were gigging in Detroit on the American tour, and a couple came up to me afterwards, after the show. I was only playing guitar, and said, you really surprised us. I said, why? They said, well, we seen you earlier. We just thought, oh, you're some sort of jock or something, because you don't belong here, because short hair, just trendy. It's like, you don't belong here. And then we seen you play guitar. I was like, oh, he's actually really good. I was like, well, is that an insult or a
just a well-groomed rocker, like?
Yeah, it's like, well,
quite a wide spectrum, though, isn't it?
It is, but they make that instant. They distinguish you as a certain thing before they
It's
meet
like,
you.
oh my God, you're an MMA fighter, good looking, singing. It's sickening. I can't deal with it.
But they kind of pigeonhole people off looks.
Stereotype them.
Yeah, stereotype straight away because rock fans are the worst for it. Yet they claim the victimisation that they're a bit outcasts or whatever because rock music isn't kind of given the respect, which I agree with. But they also, if someone who's trendy, a chav or whatever, comes in to say, "Oh, I like AC/DC," like, you ain't a rock fan, mate. Look at you.
Do you think like maybe true art is born from torment?
Possibly, yeah. I think there's definitely a bit of kind of inner. I think self criticism, self torment. There's a lot when you get someone who's really kind of harsh.
There's a lot of pain.
Yeah,
in that
harsh
industry.
to the world. It's the pain inside, maybe stuff they've gone through in the past, or maybe self-confidence. There's a lot of things that go into it that kind of make people overanalyze the outside world. I've done it myself. You will people watching. You will look at people with jealousy or, I don't know, feeling like a victim or whatever. But you kind of, the way of getting that out is through your emotions with music or whatever.
Do you find then, like, within the music scene now, like, so obviously, like, there's been like a big movement that it kind of encourages men to talk to each other and things like that. So do you have that kind of camaraderie within the music scene, like, if, you know, ringing each other up and checking on each other and making sure you're all okay and that? Or?
What, in terms of mental health?
Yeah, as you say.
Yeah, do you look after each other?
Say yes
All
and no.
you sensitive, torn souls?
It's weird, yes and no, because only with the people like Nick, people like who I'm actually friends with. But then there's people who I've played gigs with along the way who wouldn't even give me the time of day now, or, well, not that I wouldn't give it to them, but there's just no connection there.
Is there anybody that's been like so professional, they've been good at their job and they've done it, but they've come and they've almost processed it rather than like bond with you, but it's still given you the sample that they need, and it's been like almost, you know, packed it, booked it.
It's almost like an unwritten format. It's like I've done gigs. I did one at Mas Palomas in Gran Canaria. The Mas Palomas Gay Pride. It's like a really big event. I did that last 2018. And I won't mention his name, but there's one guy in particular I met. He was on the X Factor, and just the typical kind of come up to you, shake your hand. Oh, I loved your audition. It's almost like there's a format of things that they say to each other to kiss each other's arse, and really they're just thinking, I don't care. I just want to get myself ahead.
Like a bit of fakery. And do you think that's good? And I mean, from our conversations that I've had with you and with other artists, that's crept into that an empathetic processing has crept into the record labels, which is almost killing. The burning embers of artists, perhaps.
So now, I mean, we were talking earlier about record labels. I think pretty much from my understanding now, it's there's no funding, there's no real push for the artists. It's just a case of if your face fits, they'll use you while you're there, and they will, you know, put the music out as soon as you're not the it thing anymore. You're gone. Whereas I think before there used to be a lot of nurturing and giving people a chance to push their music through. But now your face has got to fit. You've got to fit into the certain genre of what they're after. If not, you're out the door.
How would we change that, do you think? If there was, let's say there was a audacious way of changing it and just breaking that wheel, what do you think how do you start?
Not just saying this, but obviously we were talking about what you guys are doing with the podcast, and even things like this, and I know radio stations giving up-and-coming artists the chance, and people, it's like we're talking now, I'm not lying. I'm just being myself. I've got no reason to say anything different. And when people are like that, you get the true person out of them. But when they get to a certain point, they almost get manufactured in their responses and whatever else. But when people are given the chance to be themselves by everyday podcast radio stations who want to meet the real people, that gives people the chance to express themselves at that level.
And this is a mission that we have, and this is quite poetic. We bring the star out of ordinary people, and we show the ordinary person in every star. Right? Which
is what needs to happen. That's how. It's
beautiful, Josh. I'm touched.
Oh my God! The tears came to my eyes. I said that, but
it's cliche, but it's true because some people out there who've I'm lucky. I've had a bit of TV time and got a bit of a break, and I've had some good success, and I've enjoyed it. But then there's some people, the me before that. If someone had to turn around to me and said, "Oh, we want to interview you on a podcast," I'd be excited. I'd be like, "Yeah, please."
Radio station.
Yeah, radio station, podcast radio station, anything like that. You jump at the chance because you're like someone.
Gets quite touchy about that.
Someone is giving you the opportunity to talk about yourself and be yourself. But then at the same time, when you've just been on TV and everyone's trying to talk to you, you get a bit kind of, oh, you know what? Join the queue. Everyone's trying to talk to me, and you kind of become a bit arrogant to it, which is natural.
Yeah.
Natural.
Well, you build a wall up to it. Look at me speaking like I know. When I'm batting off the alternative Radio Cardiff fans out there.
Well, you've had a couple of fans in your day, haven't you? You know, back in your rugby days, Josh.
Well, speaking to one right now.
Hey, come on now, Josh.
Stop it now. But yeah, so there was another song you wanted to play us, which is called Faces, isn't there? Which is an expected entry that we're going to chuck in.
Personal song to me.
that.
It's the one I was talking about earlier, actually, that really means something to me. But it's and it's weird because I wrote it quite a while ago, but it's kind of been more. It's got more meaning to me now. But yeah, it's off our EP that will hopefully be coming out soon, and it's called Faces.
So it's not even out yet.
No, not yet.
Oh god, yeah, I do love it. I do love a cheeky exclusive.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. And you're also quite proud of the shadowing on your music video.
Yep.
Which we'll put a link to and everything like that. We've got to start putting links to things to make us, interconnected. But go on in. One more introduction then, Joe, give it to us.
Yep, this is Faces by The Contrast.
Alternative Radio Cardiff, ARC FM.
Stay with me, don't ask no questions, just hear me. Yeah, there's so many sides to me that you will never see. And if you lay there and let me look inside of you, I find so many things about you. 'Cause I don't even know you. I'll take a shot in the dark and say you're not who you are. Don't let the colors cover up your eyes. You've all been burned by the pain. We're all a little ashamed to let them see what's going on inside. Feels like you're falling to pieces when you're counting the reasons that love makes you feel so low. I guess we're all out of faith if we can show out your faces in the places that we never belong. See my life and understand these issues, 'cause I feel your strife. It's like I'm right there with you, living every single moment that you let go of the one shred of you that was almost real. And nobody knows all the things about you that make me wanna know you. I'll take a shot in the dark and say you're not who you are. Don't let the colors cover up your eyes. We've all been burned by the pain. We're all a little ashamed to let them see what's going on inside. Feels like you're falling to pieces when you're counting the reasons that love makes you feel so low. I guess we're all out of faith if we can show out your faces in the places that we never belong.
That was Faces. That's another sensational track from you there, Joe, mate.
Sensational, what a word. Hey.
Banging out the big words
I
now.
didn't even say that myself. I'll take that.
So Joe, you've been an amazing and famous guest. Thank you.
I know. Thank you so much for coming on, Joe. It's been a pleasure meeting you, mate.
And obviously you're now part of the movement of Alternative Radio Cardiff.
I'm glad to be so, yeah, awesome. Appreciate you.
You'll be back down in Cardiff every weekend now,
Yeah,
mate.
I'll come and see you guys anytime. And seriously, appreciate you guys having me on. And it's awesome what you're doing, man. I think, like we were saying earlier, pushing local talent and people up and comers and whatever you can do to kind of get the message out there. It's a genuine reason to be doing what you guys are doing. So good luck with it all. Respect to you, and thank you for having me on. Anytime you need me down here, I'm down.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you so much, mate.
Thanks, Joe.